Ndugu yangu Aladwa amesema niko na maadui wengi. Mimi sina maadui. Hata mmoja I don't have. Pengine kule tu kuna watu ambao tunashindana na wao. Na kushindana ni kitu mzuri. It brings out the best in all of us. So hakuna shida, tutashirikiana pamoja, tutajenga nchi kwa imani, na nimesema kwa vyovyote hii nchi tunataka iwe nchi ya amani, iwe nchi ya umoja, iwe nchi ambayo tutashirikiana sisi zote. Tuondoe ukabila katika taifa letu, tuondoe chuki, tuondoe migawanyiko, na pia tuondoe ubaguzi. Sisi wote ni ndugu moja wa taifa moja, taifa la Kenya. And we are going to build this nation together, united. And I will lead from the front in building this nation, because that is the assignment I have from God, to build the nation of Kenya in all its aspects and in all respects. So tushirikiane hivyo. It is my honor and privilege to welcome their Majesties, King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima of Netherlands to Kenya for this historic state visit, their first ever, and thank them most heartily for accepting my invitation. Kenya deeply values its strong and enduring partnership with the Netherlands, one of our most significant trading partners in Europe, a steadfast development ally, and a key collaborator in our economic transformation. The Netherlands' global leadership in sustainable agriculture, water management, and renewable energies aligns seamlessly with Kenya's Vision 2030. This visit provides an invaluable opportunity to strengthen existing collaborations, explore new frontiers, and accelerate mutual investment for shared prosperity. Our nations share a strategic partnership dating back to 1964. Over the decades, this relationship has evolved, driven by mutual respect, common aspirations, and a shared vision for a greener, more sustainable, and prosperous future.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our three-day state visit to Kenya, I would like to thank you, Mr. President, for your kind invitation. Our visit reflects the strong and equal relationship that has developed between our countries across a broad range of areas. We work together successfully in many different fields. As trading partners, as partners for security and stability, as investors in sustainable development, as problem solvers in the food and water sectors, and, not least, as like-minded countries in the United Nations. This is illustrated by the Operation, our largest mission in Africa, whose activities extend across the entire region. Our diplomatic ties go back more than 60 years, and Kenya's extraordinary development over those decades has been highly impressive. Kenya is a self-assured nation that is proud of its economic performance, its democracy and institutions, and its constructive and impactful international role. We attach great value to our cooperation with Kenya. This visit shows just how closely our interests are aligned and how strong our ties have become. And not just our governments, but also our businesses, our NGOs, and the many private partners in Kenya and the Netherlands who have teamed up on joint initiatives.
Welcome to Fireside, the home of politics, policy, and economics. Today we've got a very loaded show, and we are looking at 3 items. The first one is Mount Kenya politics, then Kenya's foreign policy and national government reorganization, For the first time, we have Cathy Irungu. And Cathy Irungu, welcome.
Thank you very much.
When people saw your name on the poster, they were asking, who is this Cathy Irungu? And a number of them said, describe you as an iron lady from Mathira. What makes you the iron lady? Okay. Or is that an accurate description of...
It could be. It could be an accurate description, but let me just introduce myself. My name is Cathy Irungu, and I come from Nyeri County. I live here in Nairobi. I'm a businesswoman. I come from Nyeri County, Mathira constituency to be specific. And I'm a politician. I have run for office 2 times in Nyeri. That is for the Nyeri County Woman Representative in the year 2013 and the Member of Parliament for Mathira in the year 2017. Yes.
So you ran against Mr. Rigathi Gachagua?
Yes, I ran against the former deputy president in Mathira, and that makes him my bigger brother, and also that makes me someone that understands him perhaps better than all of you.
Yeah, that probability does exist. Meshack, you've been missing in action. I understand when you saw that order from State House, the blue piece of paper, you were shedding tears. I hope you've managed the process and accepted reality.
Dismus, we all know power is good. Who doesn't want power?
Cathy Irungu.
I don't think Cathy doesn't want power. He just wants it. She just wants it a different way, maybe. But all of us want power.
I think the reason why we contest for seats is because we want power.
Yeah.
And maybe what we should... No, but you can't serve the people if you don't
Without
have the power.
power,
How are you
can't
going
serve.
to make decisions if you don't have the power?
Yeah?
You can.
No,
Okia did until he realized that he needed power to
not
actually
even
serve
that.
the people.
In fact, for some of us to get into politics, we started from community service.
Yeah.
And then you realize that at that level, you cannot make decisions. And of course, you want there to be policies. You want there to be opportunities for you to make a difference. And you cannot make a big difference from community service. You'll just end up as a socialite. And Mount Kenya region, we have plenty of those, and I do not intend to be one.
Yeah, but Mokua, it's okay. Yes, I might not have been happy because I missed, but I was also happy because I saw the face of Kenya in that piece of paper. For very few times we see the face of Kenya in such kind. Many times, 90% or 80%, previously you would just see a certain section of Kenyans and you missed to see other parts of Kenya. This one was a bit more distributed, although not completely as Kenyans would want, but at least it encourages someone we are headed somewhere.
Obviously, I was joking that you were shedding tears, but did you actually apply? Did you actually apply for this role?
No, I didn't apply, but I have so many friends who applied, and I was hoping to see their names in that piece of paper.
Wakili Mwangale, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, there's a gentleman called Rigathi Gachagua. A few days ago, with alacrity, he said he has crafted a will, a 50-year will for Mount Kenya. And he says everybody in Mount Kenya has to dance to his drum beats. And in my view, he's suggesting that everybody in Mount Kenya has surrendered agency to him, that a democracy doesn't exist in Mount Kenya, that is the kingmaker, his word is as good as law. And because you are a lawyer, I suspect you know how to craft a will. What does it take to craft a political will?
Well, one would say that it takes the likes of Rigathi Gachagua because you cannot craft a will for an entire community and say that because you occupy a certain position of influence, then whatever you say is the way the community should go. Most of these leaders have succeeded in making some of our communities and people from some of our communities look like cows or sheep. So that they are headed a certain direction when they call for it. And Mount Kenya is one such example. Luo Nyanza, another example. Some parts of Western region also, another example, where you have certain politicians who have risen to the top, organically or otherwise, determining the political direction those communities should take. In the last elections, the yellow fever that swept across Mount Kenya was credited to William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua because he was trusted with, running whatever paths he had the ability to run. And somehow, Rigathi Gachagua is convinced that William Ruto was elected because of him as an individual, which again is it is not true. It is a delusion that gets to many politicians who have come from these regions. That delusion has made Kalonzo Musyoka sit in the cold for very long, thinking that he controls Ukambani and Ukambani speaks for him. That delusion has made the likes of Musalia Mudavadi not rise above anything they have occupied before, because they feel they control the votes of particular communities. One of the things that is our reality is that most communities still hold on to the African traditional system of government, where if it was a council of elders that led the community, today you would see that council of elders in the form of certain political figures. And Mount Kenya is not an exception. So Mount Kenya will not be following one individual in the next election. I think Rigathi Gachagua is riding a wave that will soon come crashing down with him as an individual.
In my view, Rigathi Gachagua still thinks that he's got the, so to say, the yam and the knife in Mount Kenya politics. And he has made people believe, erroneously so, that it's the entire of Mount Kenya that was impeached, that it was not Rigathi Gachagua who was impeached. Well, in fact, everybody knows that it's Rigathi Gachagua who was impeached. It was not Mount Kenya. And again, he's a very good architect of misinformation and disinformation, because he literally goes to the top of Mount Kenya. I don't know whether he's been to Mount Kilimanjaro or Everest, and says that people from Mount Kenya are being kicked out of government offices. And a basic look at the composition of the cabinet, at the composition of the principal cabinet secretaries, even parastatal heads, one can venture that up to 50% of the positions are still in Mount Kenya. Just look at the cabinet composition, look at the majority leader, look at the principal secretaries. As Meshack was saying earlier on, in fact, it does not reflect the face of Kenya.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no Chapter 10, there's no Article 6. But Cathy, you come from Mount Kenya, you've got experience of running against Rigiji. Have you surrendered your agency cumulatively as Mount Kenya and said you are going to be sheep or cow or goats, and his word is law?
I haven't, and I can't. I want to help you understand the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Basically, during the impeachment, he had an entire, I think about 4 weeks before he was impeached, and he did a lot of whipping of emotions and telling people, I'm being targeted. In fact, initially, it was about him, until he learned the art of telling people that it's actually the community that is being targeted. I can tell you this for a fact, that Rigathi Gachagua only uses the community to serve his own personal interest. But unfortunately, just like Wakili has said, this herd mentality, where people believe one person will heckle from one corner of the village and say, we are being targeted. And Kikuyus are very good at doing that, and I am one of them. Because if you remember in the year 2013, what happened, and I was in that contest, and Uhuru Kenyatta happens to be a good friend of mine. But what happened that time? He actually just needed to go around the mountain and tell the mountain, you know what? I'm just about to be taken to The Hague. You guys, please save me. And I even remember one of the meetings that I attended with him, and I remember him telling the people, in Kikuyu, which translates to, if you do not elect me, I'll be jailed at The Hague. It is the same narrative. It is the same route that Rigathi Gachagua is trying to follow. Unfortunately, when Rigathi Gachagua was the deputy president, he could not have meetings with the members of parliament from the region. He was not even meeting with the governors. The place was so divided because he himself is very divisive. But after he was impeached, that is the time he's making all this noise that is happening. You can imagine, when Rigathi Gachagua went to the mountain, he told people, mambo ni matatu, and he talked about milk, he talked about our coffee production, he talked about tea. For all the time that he was a deputy president, we never saw the prices of those commodities rise until Mutahi Kagwe became the cabinet secretary for agriculture. That is when we started seeing the changes, including for our Mira farmers in Meru. So then one wonders, what are these interests that he's trying to take care of now? And he was unable to take care of that when he was the deputy president. But currently, what is happening, when Rigathi Gachagua started the whipping of the emotions and people started following him, He's the only person who was on the ground making the noise. And apparently he enjoyed that for a very long time until he sold all the lies, and I think he does not have more misinformation to tell the people. So what is happening currently, Rigathi Gachagua has become very incoherent. I mean, how do you tell an entire community that you're the one, you have a will for them? All of us, more than 7 million people, you have our will? Whom do you think you are?
Now, talking about being incoherent, do you mean that is that discussing as if he's intoxicated or he's lost his capacity for logic? What do you mean incoherence?
I think he's you know, I attended Martha Karua's launch of her rebranding of her Na Kenya to PLP. And that is the day I picked, and I could really tell that Gachagua has lost it. I listened to him in front of all those other leaders, Akina SKM and Martha Karua and everybody else. And he said, you know, every day I'm going to tell you what is in store for you as the people of Mount Kenya region. And I asked myself, this is a national event. It is a Martha Karua's party, relaunch or rebranding, which was attended by the likes of the former Muhisa Kitui, for example. It was attended by Kalonzo Musyoka, who is not a Kikuyu. This Mulima business that has gotten into him so badly, such that even when he takes to a national podium, he has to talk about Mulima. There's a problem. The other thing is, you cannot keep telling us the way William Samoei Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, is bad, yet you're the person who also claims to have taken him to Mount Kenya and got him all the votes that he got, which is again a lie that I can demystify today. What happened, I was in the 2017 contest for Madeira, and I saw with my own eyes President William Ruto come to the ground a day before the party primaries to help Rigathi Gachagua. And everybody who comes from this country, when you say helping someone during the party primaries, we know what it means. So really, exactly, in favor of Gachagua. So really, he didn't get William Ruto any votes. In fact, what happened, and that is a mistake, and we can discuss that in future, Uhuru Kenyatta left Mount Kenya to Ruto long time after 2013. And it is actually William Ruto who decided who our members were going to be from 2017 onward. And Gachagua was one of them. So he's actually a beneficiary of William Samoei Ruto, not the other way.
Now, talking about beneficiaries, Meshack, members of your political party, a number of them broke into a dance and song when Mr. Raila Odinga did not become the AUC chairman. Yeah. While in fact, majority of Kenyans wanted Raila Odinga to become the AUC chairman, so that outside serving Africa in that capacity, there can be democracy within the ODM strongholds. It's very clear, although members like yourself, you will deny, that ODM, in fact, is not a democracy. Yes. That Raila Odinga's word is as good as law. Political party primaries in ODM is fiction. That you can have nice documents, but the ODM constitution gives the party leader a blank check. While you may not admit that you may have broken into a dance and song, this hard mentality that Rigiji is trying to craft in in Mount Kenya. And other panelists, in fact, have said that if Cathy and company are not careful, they are actually creating a political monster. That is what is going to become law, the way Mr. Raila Odinga's word has become law in parts of ODM for a long time.
Can I just clarify something, because I come from the region? I don't know whether you listened after His Excellency William Samoei Ruto was elected as president, and of course Rigathi Gachagua as his deputy. Lee Kinyajui went on air and criticized the members of parliament that had been elected from my region, that is Mount Kenya, and he actually called them Tugege. I don't know whether you came across that.
Yes, we did.
And it's actually meant people who do not have the understanding and the capacity to represent their people because they don't understand, simply. And I'll tell you this for a fact. All what Rigathi Gachagua is trying to do now is to give Mount Kenya people worse Tugeges. In fact, worse than what Cabinet Secretary Lee Kinyajui had divined that time. Because all what you need to do is go to meetings with him and declare yourself as a Getungati.
What does that mean in normal English?
In normal English, what Getungati means, it means a servant. And to say that someone is a servant just because they were seen in a meeting with Rigathi Gachagua is wrong.
So is
a
that...
servant of the people doesn't need to be seen with Rigathi Gachagua to qualify to be a Getungati.
Maybe he's the chief servant, but let me.
No, he's not the servant of who? The servant of who?
You're a servant.
No.
Let me
he's not a servant of the people. Maybe he's the servant of his own home and family.
You had put it correctly that I will deny. And
you have
here I want to deny categorically.
In the strongest terms possible.
Yes, and here I want to deny categorically. Number one, ODM is or just celebrated 20 years. How many parties in this country today, you can be sure those who are there in the 2022 election and those which have been registered, the political party registrar just told us many parties have been registered lately. How many can you sit here and be sure will be in 2-3 elections coming? I mean, we have to give it to Raila that if that level of discipline was not there, maybe you see it as dictatorship or his word is law, but we see it as discipline within political party. Because if it is removed and people start doing what they want, then count for me those parties which have, even the ones which have produced president. Kibaki left PNU, which we don't know whether it's still a political party or what it is.
It's under Munya.
It is under Munya, but with what exactly would you hold and say this is a political party? Uhuru left a Jubilee, which was really, really big, including majority in parliament. But because the top leadership of the party have decided that, okay, because this thing we call democracy, we don't even know where it begins and ends. It is a white man thing, not ODM. This is a very unique thing to Africa, and it has never worked even for Africa in the first place. We borrow things from the West, and we keep pasting everywhere. And lawyers like Mwangale will tell you big words, which at the end of the day means nothing to the people of Africa. So tell me.
Democracy is a good or a bad thing?
It is neither here nor there.
I think it's a good thing.
If you stand on the hill, everything else is in the valley. If you stand in the valley, everything else is on the hill. So where you stand, maybe. But where I stand, nothing.
So you're telling us that you stand nowhere, which is okay.
Not nowhere.
You're telling us that
I stand where I think party needs serious discipline to stay even longer.
You stand where Raila stands.
I stand where the party leader, whether it is ODM or PNU or UDA, has to be given some level of respect to actually be able to take control of that party and lead it somewhere. Because all these parties must have some dream holders. And that dream holder, whether a man or two or a woman or two, will take that party where it is supposed to be. But when we all join the party and we say, for now, everybody will do whatever they want because this is democracy. That's how we end up with one party, one election, dead. Another party, another election, dead. This is why I will say, to us who belong to ODM, I think it will still remain like that, and we might see ODM in another 2, 3, or 4 elections. But those who feel like it should be democratic all of a sudden and nobody should lead the party to a certain direction, I am yet to see that party in another election, whether it is the new ones which were being registered the other day.
Dismus, thankfully, Meshack has told us with clarity that ODM is not democratic. They're telling us that
not the democracy you know. We have our democracy. We have our democracy, how we understand it.
Yeah, it is fine. It is fine.
And he has also suggested you must not bombard us with big English words.
No worries. I will tone down. Thankfully, conventionally, what we understand as democracy is not what ODM understands as democracy. ODM is telling us that what the party leader says is law. And they are saying that Raila Odinga is enforcing discipline within the party. Some people call it dictatorship, but ODM is telling us that is their form of democracy, which is okay because, again, political parties in this country are not really political parties. I've mentioned this before. They are SMEs. And ODM is a successful business.
SMEs.
Yeah, small and medium enterprises.
So they're supposed to be under PS Mangeni.
Exactly. But you see, ODM is one of those successful businesses that has, had a 20-year lifespan. And businesses, can be successful as ODM has been. So we are not saying that ODM has not been successful. It has been successful as a business. Those who have been in ODM and have left, who saw the light and left, and by the way, some who are still in ODM still complain, though they can't leave because Raila Odinga holds a certain sway within that political party. And if they left the wings of Odinga, then they lose the traction they have gained in their various places where they come from. But that aside,
So Baba is good for them.
Baba is good for them.
Then why are you complaining on their behalf?
No, I'm not complaining on their behalf.
He's a taxpayer.
Because Mokua, the reasoning here is, if all the people like Mwangale and others who knows what political party should be, where are there political parties that can show us this is our political party should be?
Well,
they only speak good English, but nothing else you will find. PLO Lumumba was here. Talk to us big English and everything. He tried Kamkunji. We don't even know whether he belongs to a political party until today.
Now, let me
that is the likes of Mwangale and others. We'll tell you everything, but when you ask them, Mwangale, do you have one party that is really a political party that you can tell us so that ODM can say, let us all be like Mwangale's party? Zero.
Okay,
Thank you.
If Meshack could calm down, I could tell him that we actually have a few political parties that are working. But you see, in a scenario where you have certain individuals who have dominated the political space and polluted it to such an extent that any party that
Dominated and polluted.
And polluted. And Raila Odinga is one of those individuals. We're talking about the handshake that came with Uhuru Kenyatta and the one that has come with William Ruto. When Raila Odinga explains why he has been doing these things, right from the KANU days when he joined KANU, right up to the time he joined Kibaki and left because he said he had been shortchanged, to Uhuru, to William Ruto, he will tell you that he has been thinking about the welfare of the country. That is what he says. What he meant in that arrangement with William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, and the others is a totally different scenario. So for those who have polluted the political party space in Kenya to come out and say, show us which political parties can beat us, which political parties are more healthy than the businesses we have established, is really to spit in our faces. Because those who have been on the political forefront have made sure, and right from legislation, the Political Parties Act was a very diluted piece of legislation. It was supposed to buttress the political party system. But who came up with the Political Parties Act? Those who are forefront businessmen in these political parties, ODM being a part of them. Some of the provisions of the Political Parties Act have made it possible for individuals to have supreme control over political parties. It is these individuals who have made sure that the registrar of political parties remains an acting registrar. To date, they don't want to disturb that status quo because it will upset the business structures they have set within those political parties. So it is not a matter of telling us which political party rises above ODM. If ODM has polluted the space, they have polluted the space.
No.
And they have made these other political parties stifle.
A small contribution to what my two brothers are saying here. Number one, I think I would like to commend ODM. ODM has actually given rise to some very prominent women leaders in this country than any other political party. Whether you're talking about TNA, we are talking about DP, we are talking about PNU, especially the parties that are prominent in my region. Whereas we might not agree with the internal democracy, just within the party, which I'm not very familiar with, I would like to commend them for that. But let me tell you, political parties in this country are personal properties. Whether you're talking about ODM, you're talking about Jubilee, you're talking about all those other parties that we can talk about today.
You haven't mentioned UDA.
And UDA. UDA is William Samoei
And
Ruto.
Mwangale's party is which one?
I do not know his political party, but he will tell us.
So how do we learn football from a basketball coach? that is not making sense. Help me make sense. We cannot learn basketball from a football coach. Mwangale, you cannot teach us what you have never known.
What I'm saying,
it is not possible.
What I'm saying,
yes, go on.
I'm speaking as a politician who's been in the field and contested for a seat, not once, twice.
Thank you.
And I'm also
is much
speaking.
better.
And I'm also
because
speaking.
we have something to learn. Yes.
And I'm also
contested.
Did you win?
No.
Okay, fine.
And I'm also commenting as an observer, as a keen observer of the operations of all these political parties. Anyway,
While Mwangale is doing cross-examination.
now he has become the host now, which is okay. So what political parties do in this country, most of the time they will take care and they will really, they put the individual who is associated with this party, their interests come first. And that we have seen with TNA, that we have seen with Jubilee, that we have seen with PNU and all those parties. And that is why up to date, even the 2/3 gender rule that the women keep talking about in this country is still a mirage. Why? Because of how these political parties are run. And one of the mistakes that most men, because political parties are owned by men.
Including Martha Karua.
Apart from Martha Karua's party. In fact, that is what I was just about to say. And even Martha Karua only managed to snatch that party from Mwai Kibaki. Initially, that was not her party. It was Mwai Kibaki's party. She snatched it, managed to take over both the property and the certificate and everybody else. I mean, give it to her. But for that reason, even the women who get entertained, and I would say entertained in those parties, are either relatives of the party bosses, girlfriends of the party bosses. And that is, and that is why we end up having something I keep calling, in my own language, sexually transmitted political seats.
Well, now, when you talk about, would you repeat that again?
I said sexually transmitted political seats.
Wow.
Even in ODM, they're there.
Even in TNA, even in Jubilee, they are there. They are in most of these political parties. No, even in UDA, they are there.
You will not finish this show without telling us your party. Because I also need to cross-check with his party.
Maybe he's a party leader of another party, and therefore he becomes a owner.
But you know,
which makes him an owner of a political party.
Cathy, you exposed yourself to litigation
by
suggesting that political party leaders entertained these sexually transmitted positions.
But of course,
I don't know whether it's captured in the various party constitutions. But talking about 2/3, which is the fundamental issue, during the last parliament, wherever that bill came for voting, majority of the elected female leaders did a runner. So why are you blaming men in a move that are you telling me that the 47 women rep each cannot convince 10
By the way,
Dismus,
I have contested for a woman rep position. So when you talk about the woman rep seat, I can tell you this without fear or favor here in studio. Most woman representatives across all the counties were selected by men. And I will tell you how. The first thing that happens when you're contesting for the woman rep seats, there's something called sectionalism. And sectionalism means that if it is Nairobi County, then we are talking about all... let's pick Nyeri, because Nyeri makes more sense to us. Nyeri has 6 constituencies. We have Nyeri Town, we have Mathera, we have Kieni, Tetu, Othaya, and Mukurweini. So you cannot take all the 3 seats, all the 3 county seats, that is for the woman rep, for the governor and senator, to one constituency.
And deputy governor.
So what happens, because men are owners of political party and owners of capital, then they would determine which woman wins the woman rep seat. That happens across all the counties. So we start from there. In most cases, these women will either be relatives, and I repeat, girlfriends, or close friends. Now let's go to the nomination. You talked about the nominated members. The reason why women get those nominated positions or those seats is just to try and meet the not more than 2/3 gender rule. But whom do we pick to fill those positions? Let's ask ourselves again. The only time that I saw a very, very genuine attempt to fill those positions with women who have shown some interest in leadership is when BBI was introduced. Because BBI had one clause saying that for you to be nominated for a position, you need to have ran for office, or at least have shown some interest. And most of the time, at least a number 2. Those are women who have, made some efforts. Yeah. But what have we seen even in Yala? People have taken their children. Yeah. What have we seen in the by-elections, especially where I come from in Mount Kenya? A husband dies here, the wife runs tomorrow, and the wife is elected. Are those the best women that we can get in this country, either to run for office or to get those positions? No. And of course, we know that this is happening. Unfortunately, most women will not talk about it, but I'm bold enough, I'll speak about it. In fact, I hear that one of the people that we have mentioned here is preparing the wife to run for governor position in one of the counties.
Are you preparing somebody to run for governor in one of the counties?
No, she's not talking about audience. But
no, I'm talking about Mulima.
No, of course. Mokua, there is something, an assertion that is almost in every show across the country about the handshake thing. Yes. I think it is good to put this thing very clear. Unless you are not there, maybe you are young. It is only in 1997 that Baba officially walked to go and work with Moi. Other people, even on some shows, I don't know whether they lack reading materials to read or references, say it is Baba who protested. No, Baba didn't protest in 1997. Baba decided to go and work with Moi because he was defeated. He came distance, I think, number 5 or something there. But Kibaki and Matiba felt that Moi stole that election and that election was not free and fair, which is true. And so while they were organizing how to protest or show their displeasure about that election is when Baba walked to Moi and said, it's okay, I will work with Moi, which came to save this country from Kanu in 2002. That working with Moi saved this country in 2002 because we don't know. We cannot be sure whether there would have been a win for anybody else away from Kanu.
And that's how Raila became a successful businessman.
How he became a successful businessman, I don't know how much he has given to Raila because these words are being thrown all over. Handshake, hand what. But come to 2013, Baba didn't do any handshake with anyone. I don't remember. But 2018, Uhuru told us he went to look for this mzee. I went to look for this old man.
Yeah, that's what he said.
But apparently, because Baba's name sells much, even for people like Mwangale on shows, he would rather talk about Raila, how Raila does handshake. He does not want to tell the country that, yes, we also Uhuru saying he looked for him. Ruto the other day at KICC, didn't you hear him saying, I went to look for this mzee, I called him.
Let me tell you, if there's something that cannot sell in Mount Kenya right now is Railaphobia.
Yeah.
Railaphobia has been sold in Mount Kenya time and again. Every election, you just need to demonize Raila and then you get the vote.
Yes, Cathy,
even for an MCA, by the way.
At KICC, Ruto told us, the whole country, that I took my phone and I called this mzee where he was. And I told him, you've been my party leader. Is it only me who had those words?
Oh,
you need to be respected and I need your help. Didn't he say that, Mwangale? All that day you were in court, you were busy. Now let me put it to you. It is Uhuru who looked for Raila.
That's true.
He said it. It is Ruto who looked for Raila. So why they look for him? I have no idea. But you seem to be having more idea on how Raila...
Meshack, Raila will look for the next president after the next election. Yes.
Meshack is holding brief for Raila Odede.
Yes, I do.
You have your own reasons, and I do not contest that. Why you want to revise history is again up to you. I cannot.
You should be left alone to lie.
I cannot.
That is what you're saying.
No,
Nobody should revise history because once you have put your lie, we should accept.
I agree with you. You can revise history.
Thank you.
But what history is to many of us will remain what it is. Now, let me sway a little from Raila Odinga. You can tell from this conversation who is more obsessed with Raila Odinga. So I want to move away from Raila Odinga and talk about what we are talking about, Mount Kenya and William Ruto planning a visit to Mount Kenya. Now, when we're talking about Rigathi Gachagua, just today he was attending a service somewhere, and as he was leaving the service, there was a lot of commotion. It was said that people had been paid, to come and make it appear as though Rigathi Gachagua.
What is the meaning of that cough?
It's because I know something that he doesn't know.
Well, it's fine.
Gachagua was in Nyeri town. Let me, for clarification, so that again we speak from a point of knowledge. Rigathi Gachagua was in Nyeri town constituency, ACK Church,
yes.
The main parish there in town, not far from the stage. And basically, Nyeri town on Sunday is normally a very, very busy town. First of all, I saw about 2 hours before the service started, I saw a post on Facebook from the Honorable Gonjiri Wambugu saying that people from my constituency of Madeira had been, in fact, he called us goons.
Yeah.
I think he needs to retract. He needs to withdraw and apologize to the people of Madeira, because this is what I know. The goons were paid by the Itungati faction. We know them for hiring goons so that the goons attack them so that they can whip more emotions and manipulate the people of Nyeri.
Thank you, Cathy, for that clarity. It is good that you know who paid them. I was just saying it. We saw what we saw, that there are goons who appeared to have been paid. I didn't know who had paid them. Now, William Ruto is planning to go to Mount Kenya for the next 2 weeks. I don't know whether he has the intelligence about Mount Kenya as we know Mount Kenya to be at present, or he has that intelligence and has chosen to prove a point to the whole of the country. And I think after he made the reappointments and reassignments in government the other day, he's out to prove that Mount Kenya, is still a part of him. I for one, believe that a majority of the people from Mount Kenya, whether they are deluded now by Rigathi Gachagua and that movement or not, have moved away from supporting William Ruto. Now, this tour to Mount Kenya could turn very disastrous to William Ruto. If you have a team, as Cathy is saying, that can pay people to disrupt their own meetings so that it appears that they are being fought, then how much more would that, or how far would that team go to prove that William Ruto is unwanted in Mount Kenya? For me, William Ruto had the option of staying away from Mount Kenya. I mean, he spent the entire of his second term as deputy president in Mount Kenya. There would have been no harm in him sending the cabinet secretaries who are from Mount Kenya to launch those projects that he's going to launch. I think he is, I would say he's now like Icarus flying too close to the sun. He has gotten Raila Odinga to his side. I doubt that it would serve William Ruto any good to try and portray himself as an enemy of Mount Kenya. Only if he wants Mount Kenya to be the next and official opposition. I doubt that William Ruto is making a wise decision in touring Mount Kenya at this time.
I think
the presidency is a symbol of
exactly.
It is.
And he's a president for all. He's a president of the Mount Kenya people, whether they are disgruntled, whether they are unhappy. And as I said, actually, Dismus, let me tell you, the problem that is in Mount Kenya right now is because after the impeachment, or after Rigathi Gachagua was impeached, which is actually a personal issue, by the way, it is not a community issue. There seems not to have been a post-impeachment plan. So this guy was left to go and tell all the lies and milk from it, and that is what has been happening in the region. However, the president is welcome to Mount Kenya. By the way, if you have observed, Raila Odinga has done quite a number of meetings with the Mount Kenya people since he joined the broad-based government. And that is very telling. I think for anybody who is close to power and close to politics and anybody who is observant, you can really tell who are the people in this broad-based kind of arrangement. Having said that, the Mount Kenya people, and I'm not one of those people who voted for William Ruto and his government. I didn't. I voted for Raila Odinga. The people who voted for William Samoei Ruto from the region were more than 4 million. Those are not votes that he's ready to just ignore and forget about. Number two, when we talk development, I went to a small school in Nyeri County called Morogoro Girls High School. And the president is going there because the government has supported, together, him and his government, they have supported a project within that school, a school that I attended myself. I'm a product of that school. So are you telling the people of Nyeri that the parents, and even the student from that school, they cannot say thank you to the president just because one human being, one individual called Rigathi Gachagua is unhappy with the president? No. There's a huge project. But he has been touring other regions. He was in Nairobi. He could have sent the minister. He's going to other regions. I think very soon he's going to Eastern. And we have seen all presidents, including Uhuru Kenyatta, including Mwai Kibaki, all these presidents have been going to other regions. He should go to Mount Kenya region, and he's most welcome.
Cathy, this is what I think, Mokua. If Ruto would avoid going to Mount Kenya, he will be repeating the mistake Uhuru Kenyatta did. When they started parting way with William Ruto in his second term, he came out and told Kenyans he's focusing on development. William Ruto anaweza tangatanga as much as he want. And that is how William Ruto went and turned Mount Kenya against Uhuru Kenyatta 100%. And by the time Uhuru Kenyatta was trying to correct the lies that he had gone around Mount Kenya telling, it was too late. They were shouting, Marisa Wende. Yeah? So if William Ruto does the same, then the difference would not be there in terms of result. The result would be the same. But right now, as we speak, Mount Kenya region still has a majority even in his cabinet. So how would you as a president even make some policy decision based on a region that you consider you have left? Some of those policy decisions will need him to go there, because it is when sometimes the president visits these areas that members of parliament, ministers talk about represent the people and say, Mheshimiwa Rais, this road going to this place or this particular agenda of coffee here and there, my people are suffering. And then they pick it from there as a policy decision.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
You'd understand that the role of the members of the National Assembly is oversight,
yes,
representation, legislation.
And, yes. That
the ones who come up, or rather, they approve the budget.
Yes.
It's crafted by the National Treasury, goes to the cabinet,
yes,
they approve the budget.
The budget.
And inside the budget,
yeah,
there is allocation for roads,
yes,
for everything.
Yes.
So why should you wait for the president to come to your region? Oh, Mheshimiwa Rais, tunaomba barabara, tunaomba barabara. And you're the one who crafts the budget. That's number one. Number two,
yeah,
you spoke passionately about this handshake.
Yeah.
And you even suggested that Mwangale may not even understand the concept of the handshake. But would you not agree to the fact that this handshake has created a bit of resentment across Kenya?
Yeah.
And there's a probability of having new political candidates emerging because of this handshake to take care of these people who are frustrated. Because President Ruto, when he was the deputy president, he said he has no time for the handshake.
Yeah.
Even Mr. Raila Odinga indicates that he has no time for the handshake.
Yeah.
But when there's a convergence of interests, Mora is left wondering.
Yes.
Because right now, at the National Assembly and Senate, when you listen to conversations, you actually begin to wonder, is there a minority? Is there a majority? Although, again, the courts have complicated the matter.
Yeah.
Would interprudent man say that Kenyans are actually walking alone? That we are now, for lack of a better explanation, we are victims of the Stockholm syndrome. We've fallen in love with our captors.
Mokua, the truth is, if Kenyans if a narrative would be brought forward to Kenyans that they are walking alone, that means in the mind of Kenyans, Raila should be the man to always fight. If Raila is not fighting, then Kenyans are walking alone. Why are they walking alone and there are people like Mwangale and his party?
Mwangale, go ahead.
Why, wait, why must Raila be the man to fight if he is not fighting? Then Kenyans all of a sudden are walking alone. Who should they be working with if Raila dies today?
Meshack, before
Is there no Wiper party? Is there no other parties? Are there no other Ukio Mutatas in this country who can act? Is Maraga not working with them and Matiangi? Why must Kenyans feel they are working alone just because Raila has decided I am supporting the president who Kenyans voted?
You know you are digressing.
I'm not digressing.
No, the way your contribution suggests that President Kenyatta, on his motion, went looking for Raila Odinga. That President Ruto, on his motion, went looking for Raila Odinga.
They said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then President Kibaki on his own motion, President Moi on his own motion. And what does Mr. Raila Odinga say? That I had to do this for the sake of political stability in Kenya.
Yeah.
But who causes political stability in Kenya?
Many Kenyans.
Why are you stammering?
No, I'm not stammering. I am not stammering. Political stability, at least the ones that have been caused while I was alive and a full-grown man, have been arising from our electoral processes.
Political instability.
Yes, they have been arising from our electoral processes. Was William Ruto not there when 2007 election happened? Was he not in front complaining? Why is Raila the only man who you think might have complained? Were we not here when Kivuitu the late told us he doesn't know who won the election? Why are we assuming important things and narrowing it to narrative that we want?
Mwangale.
Yeah. So
we are back to Raila. I don't know. If we were to discuss political stability and instability, we still can discuss it without discussing Raila. And again, I think I have Nimenawa Mikono. Meshack can revise history as much as he wants. He has the liberty to do so. But to say that Uhuru Kenyatta went out to seek Raila Odinga on his own motion, same to William Ruto. And again, I really express my sympathies to Meshack because he has a very high trust in our politicians. I don't have the capacity to have that kind of trust in the likes of William Ruto and what he says, Uhuru Kenyatta and what he says. Their believability index for me is very low. So when they come out and tell me that they went out to seek, they just sat and they thought about this country and they decided this country is much better if they, united.
Do you trust judges?
I don't trust judges.
Okay.
I trust the law. Judges also trust the law. So if William Ruto comes out and says, I am the one who sought out this gentleman, and now calls him brother. Uhuru Kenyatta, after all the abuses he had hurled at Raila Odinga, comes out and says, I sat down and thought about the whole country. It is believing these politicians that has gotten us to where we are. Every 5 years, we believe them when they come out and say they are for this country. Every 5 years, they come out and say, now we have a plan. Now we are for the future of this country. If we continue believing the people who have continually defrauded us, we continue believing the people who have continually plundered this country, whether we love them or not, we will perennially remain in the positions we are today. So politically, if we continue believing William Ruto, if William Ruto today comes and says now he has had a change of heart about Rigathi Gachagua, will you also believe him? When yesterday he was saying, of course, but Meshack
is professing doom and not giving way forward. This country believed in pastors in 2022. Where are we? Okay, we forget about politicians. We don't believe them. But this country, people like you and others believed pastors, believed bishops, and bishops gave us this.
Okay.
We are here, courtesy of bishops.
If you
Anglican bishop was with me at Bomas. Don't say no. Yeah.
if they were with you,
Chebukati was in their vehicle trying to maneuver everything to go and deliver for us this. So you are telling us we don't believe politicians, we don't believe this. So what do we believe? You.
Gentlemen, okay, I would like to chip in. The problem I see in this country, and I like the way this conversation is going, is the fact that the people who criticize the government, the people who criticize the broad-based, the people who criticize whether Raila, Ruto, Kenyatta, and all those leaders do not offer an alternative. And that is the problem. And the alternative is, what is better? You know, we are saying that this is bad, so which way, Kenya? Can you provide that? The opposition, because I personally believe that the opposition is still there. Yes, Raila Odinga has joined the broad-based government, but we still have Kalonzo Musyoka. We still have people like Jeremiah Kioni. And they have been going around the country and telling us that they are the opposition, and they are there. However, running a political campaign in this country is an expensive affair. So number one, do they have the finances? And let's not cheat ourselves. At times, we behave as if the politician belongs to planet Mars, while us, the people, belong to Saturn or another one. That's a lie. It's a big, big lie. Even all the people that we keep electing in this country are actually a representation of ourselves. We have, number one, criminalized politics so well, such that even when we are told the truth, at times we can't believe it, because we believe every politician is a liar, every politician is a criminal. Number two, as the people have made campaigns a very expensive affair. I've been to the ground and I've campaigned in a constituency that believes in that you must have millions. I was in a contest with a gentleman who could actually, when you give a contribution of 20,000 in a Harambee, he was giving 2 million. And the people, in fact, I want to give an example of one scenario here, so that we also start recorrecting and asking ourselves, when did the rain start beating us? We might spend all the time here, Dismus, with very beautiful conversations and blaming Raila and blaming Ruto, yet we are the problem. One day I went to a church Harambee in a place called Karedodo in my village there in Wamunyoro. And the bishop asked us to give our contribution. I remember very well, Honorable Priscilla Nyokavi gave 3,000. I gave 20,000. I had really toiled to get that 20,000 to contribute to the bishop because he was buying a vehicle. At the end of that event, they calculated, they counted the money and said, you know, all of you, the whole parish and all the Waheshimiwas, you've given me 1.6 million. And the car, I think the cost of the vehicle was like 4 million. One single individual called Rigathi Gachagua said, I'll give the balance. And he gave the balance in cash. And do you know what the bishop did? Bishop Wambogo called him to the front. They got some anointing, that oil for anointing people. He was asked to kneel down. They poured a lot of oil. I think it was like a liter of oil. Yeah. He looked too oily at the end of those prayers.
Yeah, commiserating the amount of money given.
Yes, and they said, that is their leader, that is Jamba, that is everything. In fact, we should not complain about the people we elect. We are the problem.
Now, you've spoken about Stockholm Syndrome. Now, a few days ago, the head of the public service made public an announcement of persons who've been promoted, others have been transferred, and others have been nominated. And Meshack has indicated that it reflected the face of Kenya. But if you call a spade, some of the names were underwhelming. Yeah. And there was not much excitement about the names, because Kenyans have got a very valid expectation that anybody nominated to these positions of trust, responsibility, you are supposed to have a capacity and competence. But one can argue that there was no meritocracy was not put into consideration. Instead, what was put into consideration is political interest. And a question arises, and this is to Meshack. You've indicated that even at some stage, for these political appointments, tell the Public Service Commission to take a break, and also tell the members of the National Assembly to take a break, because the vetting is almost mechanical. Yeah. And this is not limited to Kenya. You remember when Trump took office in the US, he gave, he came up with nominations that people said under normal circumstances, those people would not even be mentioned as nominees. But all of them I've gone through. So there's a very high probability that the names of principal secretaries, nominees, all of them are going to go through. So does it mean that the National Assembly, for purposes of this vetting process, is no more than a conveyor belt?
Mokua, if I am honest with you, we as a country think we can, and I think this thing came from the Bomas process, which finally at the end gave birth to the Constitution 2010. I think we gave the legal fraternity too much power to control everything, and we thought we are going to legislate everything.
There's a lawyer on your right.
Yes, I know. We thought we were going to legislate everything, including love and morality. The truth is, we need to sometimes accept that politics is too different from church, religion, and other things. It is purely politics. Why do I say so? You have just alluded to what I said earlier. Why do we need to legislate everything and then it is not happening and it's not a problem? Because we know PSS positions will be applied to at the Public Service Commission, you will be shortlisted. And if you look at the shortlist names that have been shortlisted, you wonder how this one, because these are people, again, like Cathy said, they are coming from our villages, they are coming from our churches, they are coming from our communities. We know them. Some of these people we went to school with. You know their capacity even in their workplace here and there. Even my friend here goes to court as a lawyer. There are other lawyers who knows whether he is able to win cases aina hii or aina ile, ama this is above him. It is like footballers. When Messi is going to the field, Harry Maguire knows I cannot handle Messi. Is it a secret? He knows. So the same way with lawyers, the same way with doctors, so and so will say, Cathy, I think you are a better doctor than me. Can you handle this? This is beyond me. But we assume all that and say, the law is there. So they go, they shortlist based on politics, but it is the Constitution that demands that that application be done. So Constitution sends them, but the process is political, purely political. So why don't we cut us some slack and spare some resources we use in convening these committees, interviews, when we know everything will be finally political?
In fact,
why don't we just cut?
The issue of political appointments, just like Odede is saying, there are two things that we should stop doing in this country. One is the appointment of the executive, the cabinet secretaries, and so on, and also the principal secretaries. The other thing that we need to stop in this country is primaries. You see, party primaries. By the time we are saying that there's a by-election or even the normal general election in Mwangale's constituency, the party that Mwangale belongs to has already predetermined who will get the ticket. So why do we waste a lot of time and resources in party primaries and in these other things that we call vetting? There's nothing like vetting in this country. We saw, in fact, from the time William Samoei Ruto came into power, has any of those CSS, I know at some point there are some who could not even answer questions. You remember? There's a lady who could not even answer basic questions. But apart from those ones, even the ones where there were controversies and there were questions around their degrees, whether they went to school or not, did they fail? No.
Yeah,
so we don't have to do the vetting.
That is because during the Bomas process, all the legal minds, great legal minds in this country, went and borrowed all the constitutions across the western part of the world, came and pasted here. And so we know very well this thing is going to be politically motivated, but we are still like, oh, we have to follow the constitution, you know, the law says this, the law says that, but the law only ignites, then the rest is political to them.
Even the even public participation in this country is a political process.
It is.
Public participation, yeah.
I can't understand the disdain Meshack has for the law in this country. That is something I'm still trying to grasp. Because when you talk about the Constitution, whether the Constitution was passed by a slim majority or not, It is considered that it is a document, it is a contract that the people of Kenya signed with themselves and the elected leaders when you're talking about representative government. So unless we are saying that the constitution now does not serve us, and Cathy has said we should do away with cabinet appointments, PS appointments, and
party
so
primaries.
and party primaries. Meshack is saying do away with this whole thing because it is political. What I hear is that we then should exist in a state of nature. And a state of nature is nasty, short, and brutish. If we are to go that direction.
I think you are.
Let me finish.
You want to listen to speak, not to understand.
Let me finish.
No, you are going to finish a wrong thing. Once you started buttoning the wrong way, you are not going to finish the right way anyway. That is how we button our shirts. Once you start the wrong button on a wrong hole, we don't have to wait because you are ending up with the wrong button on another wrong hole. What we said is, why don't we, in our constitution, amend and just say the president shall appoint the
cabinet
PS
secretaries,
and cabinet secretaries, full stop? Why must they go through this other part, which we know should be legal, should be within the law, but it is not going to be the law anyway? That's what we are saying.
If you were patient enough to listen to me, you would have discovered that I was going to say that what I hear us saying is that we need to amend the constitution to reflect our political
reality.
The realities, yeah.
Again, if you would have been patient, you would have discovered that I would have also said that I, for one, believe that in our constitution-making process, we ended up with a legal document that largely did not reflect our political realities.
Yes.
Constitution making should be a social enterprise, but we turned it into a political enterprise. For me, the people were involved as a matter of course. It was incidental that views were being collected across the country. You speak to the secretariat that led the process. When they met the people, they would receive the views, and the views were packed into a document. But the people who ultimately made the decision, in fact, by the way, were not lawyers. This constitution was mutilated in Naivasha. In Naivasha, it is not lawyers. No, it is not lawyers who were the center of mutilating the constitution. So while I agree that there are certain things that do not reflect our political reality, there are things that we can still work with in the framework of the constitution as it is. A simple issue like leadership and integrity. I mean, in as much as that does not reflect our political reality, in as much as it does not reflect the character of the political leaders we elect, we must work towards that. So the constitution is an aspiration in as much as it is a reflection of our reality. We must aspire to be better. So we can't say that because the constitution says this and our political reality is different, now we settle into our political reality and do things the way we are accustomed to do. We have to aspire to be better. And the fact that we borrowed examples from jurisdictions and countries across the world, for me, is a good thing, because it is good to see what people have done to lift themselves from, the mud pits. We must aspire to be better. Our political reality is very bleak. We have a political health problem. We have a rotten society, not just political leaders, but we must make the step, we must make the decision to be better people.
Yeah, time to get some feedback from the audience. The first one is to Mwangale. A member of the audience called Janet wishes to establish your political party, and if you're interested in running for political office. And for Meshack, there's a member of the audience from a place called Nyamuninia in Yala, wants to know when is the last time you met Mr. Raila Odinga. And for Cathy,
today we were
wait a minute, yeah. And for Cathy, a member of the audience also wants to know how was it when you did your campaign against Mr. Riggy G? Let's start ladies first.
Okay, politics in this country, as it were, is a game of men. And therefore, running against a man like Rigathi Gachagua is not an easy thing. First of all, is because of his very nature, and we all know him now. But then politics is a competition. So some people will go overboard trying to protect their territories. Some people will be mature enough, maybe even to understand that we are mothers, we are parents. We are not the weak agenda. I will not say I'm a weak agenda, but then people will behave differently in a political context. I would say that it was not easy. And one of the things that I keep calling out all the time is the violence that was actually met against me and my children, my family. Of course, there was maligning of my name. At one point, goons were even sent to my home in Nyeri. My daughter, who is actually in studio today with me, was attacked. At times, because she was really young and she doesn't know. But my sisters mentioned one day, and she said, I would like to see this man. I would like to see that guy who sent, people to throw stones at us in our own home. So it wasn't easy, and I would actually say that in future, I would not wish any other woman to go through what I went through. And our police, our security forces, our security system does not help matters when it comes to women leadership, and that's actually the terrain, where women are involved in politics. I remember going to, and that is information that you can get on online. I remember going to Nyeri Central Police Station to report an incident where I had been sexually harassed by a male whom I identified like this. And the police did nothing. You know why? Because at that very point, this gentleman or this man, Rigiji, was very, very strong on the ground. The brother was ill in a London hospital, and he had taken charge of an entire county. So basically, you go report to the OCS send you to the OCPD, then you go even to the police commander, and nothing was done to them. Up to date, I've never gotten justice. My children or my child never got justice. And that's where we are. When he became powerful and became the deputy president, the harassments, again, it's online. The harassments continued. And there's no one point that he was either called to be questioned on what was going on or why he was harassing me. So it wasn't easy, but then that doesn't dampen my spirit, and that doesn't make me shy away from contesting again maybe in the future. So it wasn't easy.
Did you break into a dance and song when he was successfully impeached?
I supported his impeachment in broad daylight. And even today, I think I made the right decision, because he was too divisive. I never knew peace. I have I think I have 3 text messages on my phone. Up to date, I've kept them. One time when I lost my father, I went to Karatina to see my mom and my stepmother, and he sent me a message. I can see you are at Madai supermarket, and you're with some young men, and you're planning how to, like the campaigners. And I was like, really, I cannot visit my home. I cannot go to Karatina freely just because someone is a deputy president. So I really celebrated. And I really wish that he never rises to such a position again, because then my life and the life of so many other people whom he thinks are his competitors on the ground are not safe.
Thankfully, the law will not allow it.
No, but which law? Which law? This country, let me tell you.
We've had people
Let me
killed
tell
in
you.
this country when the law is alive.
When I contested against him, I reported 2 times. In fact, it is only one politician from my village, another one from Wamonyoro called Difremaina, who tried to help me, but he wasn't very helpful. But we really tried even to go to DCI, and nothing happened to him. So in this country, the police force, in fact, I would like to be very categorical. If we want to increase the number of women in leadership, we must ensure that there is a level playing ground for both genders, whether it's a woman, a man, or even a young person. And I'm not saying that these things don't happen to men. It can happen to Odede, it can happen to Mwangale here. Or what determines the kind of violence that you're going to face on the ground is maybe the power that your opponent holds. And there's a violence that I would like to speak about in a second. Technology-facilitated gender-based violence is what has made most women to stay away from politics. Because majority of the women who are out there and contesting for those seats, the first thing that you will see on social media, the photoshops, some of them even naked, even some of those videos of them having sex with men, and all those things. And people really say nasty things about women politicians. And the standard is just being called a malaya, which some of us are getting used to, or we got used to a long time ago. But for some women, I know they will shy away. So
Cathy,
we need to do something about all
you
these
should
things.
not take refuge in the law.
What I'm saying is, it depends. Even when you report, if as a candidate, I report violence that is being meted on me from that level, the grassroots or something like that, and nothing happens to this politician, why did I even report from in the first place?
So, you see,
Can I tell you something? This male politician, when someone said something derogatory about him on social media, the girl who had written those things was put in a prison for 90 days. So the law does not apply equally for men and women.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is we should still take refuge in the law. When everything else fails, if you do not have a law in place, then everyone, does whatever they want. The one with authority, the one with power,
by the way,
does whatever they want.
I agree with you. The only point at which I disagree with most lawyers is where they start telling us the law is very clear and we do not understand what clear is clear.
And then they argue about the
and
clear
then,
law.
Immediately after that statement that the law is very clear, they argue the way they want.
Let me clarify.
I listened to lawyers during the impeachment of that man from Mwangale, and every lawyer was interpreting the law the way they wanted. I think that is the best time that I interacted with lawyers.
And that is the beauty
now,
with
the
the law.
other thing is that the judiciary is very, very toxic. In fact, I can say this. When I look at the debate,
hot hair in judiciary.
Exactly, and when I
take
listen,
us through full
the
sermons
other day, when there was this issue of impeaching the Chief Justice, Madam Martha Koome, it became a political debate until politicians from Mount Kenya region said, if you touch Martha Koome, do not come to Meru. If you touch this, do not do this. There's a very thin line between the judiciary and politics or the politicians. It is like these two characters, these two arms of government have gone to bed with each other and there's total confusion. So at times you really don't know, as a layman, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm a scientist myself. At times you really do not know. You observe as lawyers do their things, as the judiciary does its thing. Remember even when we went to court with the loss of our election, which we believe that Raila had won, and Madam Chief Justice told us that all what we were chasing is
Hot hair.
I think Dismus, let me just make one statement. We say the law is clear. The law is indeed clear. It is sight we cannot guarantee. And you see the beauty with the law when you're dealing with rights. For example, when you claim that your rights have been violated, the individual who has violated your right most likely thinks they have a justification for violating your right. And that is why courts come in, to interpret for the benefit of the one who has come to court, for example, claiming that their right has been violated, and also for the benefit of the person who thinks they are justified to violate your right. So that is why the law protects all of us. If the law was, cast in stone, that this is how human beings should behave, and there should be no discussion about it, then there will be no need for courts.
Do you know that is why our corrupt leaders, that is why our corrupt leaders in this country, they will hire the best lawyer in town.
Lawyers will defend.
Exactly. They will go and defend. And the next thing, we'll get these very corrupt leaders into the system. Someone has made a joke about Nduta. You've read the story of Nduta, the one who was arrested in Vietnam. Some people have said the reason why we are finding nothing wrong with the hanging or the whatever they have said about her, they're saying it's because we are so much used to that because drug barons run this country. We elect them as a members of parliament and everybody else.
Let me come in. My problem is simple. We have courts of law, not courts of justice. We don't get justice in these courts. Why do I say that? Because we have seen, you have watched, and probably everybody in this room have watched case files. I can kill you, but as long as
Please don't.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying I'm gonna kill you. As long as your people will not prove that I did, the law will not find me guilty. Is that justice? we only go as far as you can prove, but as long as I can't prove, and poor people will never be able to prove things. Look at, for example, forget about that, go to our elections. You go to election, especially the presidential election, then the law demands that you who is not happy or feel like this election has been rigged, you are going to get the evidence from IEBC, who is trying to justify that what they announce is the correct thing. They are the ones to give you that evidence to take them to court. What the hell is that? You are telling me that is justice.
But you know,
what sort of justice is that? Wait a minute. In this country, the court will tell you, I know this microphone is mine, but I cannot take it as evidence to the court until the court gives me authority to get the evidence. So people knows what Cathy is talking about. The politicians and bigwigs in the country knows the only thing I need to do is to deny you access to the evidence, and then the court will say there is no evidence. And is that what is called justice? I come from a side of the world where that is not justice. Justice remains that your microphone was lost and Cathy has it. That is justice. Yeah, the law will tell you, you have not proven. So according to lawyers, that is justice.
And we have called it innocent until it's proven guilty.
Yeah, before we go to the last part of the show, could you please talk about the Cabranc rule so that maybe Cathy and Odede would understand that every person is entitled to representation?
The Cabranc rule says every person is entitled to representation, and a lawyer cannot refuse to represent an individual just because they do not want to represent that individual. But I'm not here again to say that we do not live in an unjust society. I think all of us would conclude that we are in a very bad place as a country. The fact that we are in that place, the fact that we are largely an unjust society, does not negate the need for laws. Mm-hmm. It does not negate the need for courts. The fact that certain courts have made certain pronouncements that are not reasonable in the first place, and even lawyers would look at certain pronouncements from these individuals, these courts, and they will tell you this was not a reasonable judgment. The fact that you have lawyers representing criminals, manifest criminals, and in as much as we say that an accused person is innocent until proven guilty, that is a standard that protects everyone, including the individual who is manifestly a criminal. They have to be subjected to a balanced process where, when all evidence is weighed, they can actually be found guilty. In some countries, you have juries. You have to go before a jury of your peers. For us, we decided that our standard is going to be innocent until proven guilty. For example, if Meshack, you were arrested outside here, and the police decided that you committed a crime that you did not commit, you still have to be subjected to that standard. The court has to weigh the evidence. It is unfortunate for us that we live in a system where those with money get their form of justice. But we should not insist that because that is what we have allowed ourselves to get into, then we should not, embrace the law and embrace the courts. We're in a bad place, but again, I go back to our aspirations under the Constitution. We can still aspire for better. These individuals that we are mentioning, and unfortunately for us, we have a cabinet that has a few criminals. We have a parliament that is full of criminals. Criminals. No. Well, I haven't mentioned an individual, but if they would want me to, this is fair comment. So this is fair comment. You have a parliament. If you wanted to find out if you were tasked with getting the smallest demographic where it would be easy to pick out murderers, you'd walk to Parliament Road. If you wanted the smallest demographic where you'd easily pick out drug dealers, the same place is where you'd go. People who are engaged in illicit business, money laundering, wash, name it, all those things, home breakers, find them in Parliament. We elected those people into office. So when you talk about people who have the money to buy justice, we give those people access. We talk about revolutions across the world. There are citizens of countries who have been subjugated for a very long time, but they arise because they know the power they wield. For us, every 5 years, we pretend as though we have no power. We pretend as though these politicians control us to some extent. We vote them in, and then we complain. We cannot allow ourselves to continually be in that position.
And Wakili is right. You see, how we run politics in this country, we elect members of parliament, MCAs, name it, and immediately they take office. Even before they have taken office officially, we start complaining. And the voters will tell you, and I'm talking about it because I've experienced it, the voters will call you and say, hey, mheshimiwa, unajua huyo mtu hatumtaki, mpatie miaka 5. So how do you allow yourself 5 years? And it is because we have commercialized politics. So for them, it's a business. They look at it as an enterprise. So they say, okay, we have voted in Odede, but now because Odede might not answer our calls, they say people don't pick their calls immediately they are elected. Let's have another plan. And now when you become their plan, woe unto you because you are going to feed them for another 5 years. Then after those 5 years, another person is voted in, then they call another mheshimiwa. Huyo mtu tutamngoa. Just give him 5 years, tutakuweka. We are part of such a system that is not right, and we need to make things work better for ourselves.
Yes, before we conclude the show, we've got a minute each for the controversial opinion. Let's start with Mwangale. Was that a fair share of his controversial opinions?
Well, the whole show has been controversial. I would not mind to pick up from where I've left. My controversial opinion would be this, that if we wanted to change this country as soon as 2027, we could do that by kicking out all the people who are in the political class now, those who are at the forefront of our political system, our political party system. We can do that. There is no harm that this country...
Including Cathy.
Well, Cathy is not elected yet, but those who are serving in positions, because Kenya has not seen better with them in office. Most of them who have perennially occupied certain positions of influence have made sure that this country remains where it is for their benefit.
Thanks a lot. Cathy?
Controversial, okay. I think I know Kenyans yearn for change, and Kenyans would want to see a better country. Now, unfortunately, we don't seem to have a well-prepared opposition. So I'll ask Kenyans, unless you do things differently, please, can you brace yourself for another 7 to 8 years of William Ruto's rule or William Ruto's presidency? I know there's a lot of complaints out there. I've watched some videos that were all over the place. I think one in Nyayo and another one in Naivasha, where the young people are chanting, Ruto must go. Go where? And the reason why I ask this, because I know the Gen Zs, they're very passionate about, kicking William Ruto out of office. But what are you doing about that? You told us that you're readerless. I don't know, you're radarless. You are youth. You said you're even tribeless. But then what? I mean, where are you leading us to? Because I've also watched someone like Morara Kebaso. Morara Kebaso came to Martha Karua's party launch or rebrand the other day, and he said he's part of that organization under the Itungatism. But within a very short time, he has come back and told us, I cannot be part of this tribal arrangement and all that. Do you know why Gen Zs are making a mistake? Because they have no leader. The other reason why they're making a mistake is because they have ignored all of us. They have ignored Odede here, who seems to have a wealth of experience as to how politics is run in this in this country. They have ignored Mwangale, who is a very good lawyer, as I've heard. They have ignored some of us who have shared tables and even contested with some of those their newfound friends, and we understand this system very well. So the fact that they are doing this alone, if they can find other allies and work together with them, not really to remove William Ruto, because I'm not convinced that they have what it takes to get him out of office,
Meshack.
but to work together.
First, let me say Pole to Honorable Salasia of what happened in Stadia.
Where you met Raila Odinga?
Yes. Before Raila came, yes, some young men roughed him up and escorted him to the vehicle. And then he went home to do some content, but he is now going to face the Luos. He abuses Raila. I don't know whether he abuses on behalf of the Luos, because now when he's roughed up, he's now seeing Luos. I think for us, the respect...
I hope you're not justifying the violence.
No, I'm not justifying. Neither is anybody justifying disrespect to Jacom. I mean, for us, respecting Raila is not an either-or thing.
It's not negotiable.
Yeah, he's just supposed to be respected.
It's not negotiable.
Yeah, it's not just something we will say you either or. No, Salasia. You just respect Jacom, full stop. Even President told us, he called him and said, you need to be respected. So I am not even an MCA. If the president realizes he needs to be Salasia, thank you, and just forget about that. My controversial opinion here is that just what we had talked about. I feel that as a country, there are things we need to move away from theory to just make them practical. If we know the positions like principal secretaries, for example, in this country, will largely be influenced politically, let's not waste resources and time having people going through interviews and all that, when we know at the end of the day, it is going to be political balances, like regional balance, gender balance, political interest. Let's just say, Mwangale, I appoint you as the president of this country, be the PS of this. Mokua, be the PS of that. And that is enough. You will have saved resources which they should have used even to apply for those positions, use more resources on other people around you to lobby, because at the end of the day, people still lobby. High lobbying, it is costing some people millions to lobby to. You have done the interview, your name has been forwarded by Public Service Commission as the law requires, but you can't go home and settle and say, now I'm waiting, I've done the interview, and I am sure, I'm confident with myself, I did well in that interview. No one does that. So when we know reality that it is going to be the highway of politics than how well you did in the interview, why should we not just cut off this and say in that law, President shall appoint permanent secretaries, principal secretaries, full stop. Cabinet secretaries, full stop. Then we go for real interview for positions that Mokua knows, this one, if I go for interview, it is purely interview, it is purely what is between my ears and nothing else, no lobbying.
That has been Fireside, the home of politics, policy and content, and research indicates that this is the fastest growing political show in Kenya. Thanks a lot for your time. Good evening.